Prime Minister Anwarul Haq Kakar is currently in China to participate in the third Belt and Road Forum for International Cooperation. This visit coincides with the decades-long celebrations for China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, the flagship project of the Belt and Road Initiative. Prime Minister's visit program has four key components: participation in the forum, meeting with Chinese leadership and other senior officials, meeting with other participating leaders at BRF, and interactions with Chinese entrepreneurs, think tanks, and media. At the BRF, the Prime Minister outlined Pakistan's vision for global connectivity through BRI and the pivotal role of CPEC in creating economic opportunities and mutually enriching outcomes as a corridor for growth, innovation, and a green economy. He called for a united global response to address transnational challenges and urged investments in transportation, energy, and the digital economy to bridge infrastructure gaps in the developing world. Yesterday, the Prime Minister held a delegation-level meeting with Premier Li Qiang. The two leaders reaffirmed and agreed to further strengthen high-level dialogue and engagement, and also agreed to deepen political, economic, education, science and technology, cultural, and people-to-people ties. The two sides will also reaffirm their commitment to strengthen bilateral relations and synergize efforts for the next phase of CPEC. The two sides have signed a number of MOUs agreements in areas of connectivity, communication, and transport, including ML1, trade and commerce, food security and research, health, industrial cooperation, climate change. The Prime Minister will meet the President Xi Jinping today. The two leaders are expected to discuss the strategic direction of Pakistan-China relations. The Prime Minister will also meet the Minister of the International Department of Communist Party of China and Chairman Sitka. On the sidelines of the Belt and Road Forum, the Prime Minister has met with fellow leaders participating in the BRF, including the President of Kenya, President of Russia, and President of Sri Lanka. He has also met the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, to whom he urged to play a proactive role to end killings and carnage in Gaza. The Prime Minister has also interacted with the heads of leading Chinese companies as part of efforts to expand Pakistan-China economic partnership. In these meetings, he has emphasized Pakistan's vision for sustainable development and measures taken to facilitate investments in Pakistan. He has urged Chinese executives to consider investments in vital sectors of ICT, agriculture, renewable energy, and mining. The Prime Minister will travel to Urumqi, China from Beijing tonight, where he will meet Party Secretary Ma Xingrui and influential Chinese corporate executives and deliver a speech at the Xinjiang University. He returns to Pakistan tomorrow. Pakistan remains deeply concerned about the situation of our Palestinian brothers and sisters in Gaza. We strongly condemn the Israeli aggression and blockade, particularly the recent attack on a Gaza hospital. Israel's actions violate international humanitarian and human rights law. Deliberate attacks against civilian targets constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity. We call for an immediate ceasefire, an end to the siege of Gaza, and the facilitation of humanitarian corridors for unrestricted relief supplies. At the urgent ministerial meeting of the OIC Executive Committee held in Jeddah yesterday, which was co-convened by Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, the foreign minister stressed that the core issue underlying the conflict was the failure to implement the two-state solution. He reaffirmed Pakistan's unwavering support for Palestinians' self-determination and advocating for establishment of a secure, contiguous, and sovereign Palestinian state. The joint communique adopted after yesterday's meeting reflects the unified stance of the Muslim Ummah on the Gaza situation. Pakistan has been actively engaged in consultation with OIC member states as part of our contribution in developing this consensus. In this context, the foreign minister has held meetings with the foreign minister of Saudi Arabia and the foreign minister of Kuwait. In the leading up of the meeting, he held telephone conversations with the foreign ministers of Iran, Jordan, Turkey, and the UAE. These conversations were centered around an in-depth discussion of the evolving situation in Gaza, with particular focus on the ongoing humanitarian crisis faced by the Palestinian people due to Israeli aggression and the siege of Gaza. These diplomatic exchanges exemplify Pakistan's steadfast commitment to fostering regional stability and advancing the cause of peace in the Middle East. Given the critical humanitarian situation in Gaza, Pakistan is sending humanitarian assistance for our Palestinian brothers and sisters. A chartered aircraft carrying 100 tons of essential medical supplies, tents, and blankets will depart from Islamabad to Egypt this afternoon. From Egypt, these items will be transferred to the people of Gaza. Meanwhile, in our part of the world, another oppressed people continue to suffer at the hands of the Indian occupation forces in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Restrictions on a large number of political leaders and religious figures continue to remain in place. Last Friday, the Indian authorities sealed Srinagar's historic Jamia Mosque and placed one of the most prominent Kashmiri leaders, Mirwais Umar Farooq, under house arrest. Mirwais was released only a few weeks ago after a prolonged house arrest of 4 years. Closing down Srinagar's Jamia Mosque on different religious occasions has become a norm for the Indian authorities, just as they continue to impose restrictions on Eid prayers and Muharram processions. We urge India to bring an end to the curbs imposed on political and religious leaders, activists, journalists, and human rights defenders in IIOJK. Pakistan will continue to support our Kashmiri brothers and sisters until the realization of their right to self-determination as enshrined in the UNSC resolutions. I thank you.